So when you say the name Nintendo Switch Pro at all online right now, you're almost immediately creating a division in Nintendo fans, as there's an entire section of the internet that does not think this thing is going to come out anytime in the foreseeable future, and we're probably just waiting until next gen to get some kind of a revision. And then you have the people in the camp such as myself that do tend to believe the reports, but maybe we just don't know the timeline of this thing yet. And there is two different stories we have to talk about today in relation to the Switch Pro when it comes to a new game that is officially being developed for it and a potential release time window. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, today is a Switch Pro topic day, and that is because there is a couple different stories that broke over the weekend, and the first one I want to cover is one that actually references a game that is now confirmed to be developed on this Switch Pro hardware, as there is a developer that has officially stated that their port of this title that they are working on will only come over to a next-gen Switch hardware. So first, let's read through that article to get on the same page with exactly what was said and what this could mean for the Switch Pro being around the corner. Eden Chronicle planned for next-gen Nintendo Switch hardware, dev talks delay, and more. Following the re-emergence of Eden Chronicle 100 Heroes, developer Rabbit & Bear Studios took to Kickstarter and published a Q&A to address some possible fan concerns. One notable topic concerns platforms. There has been talk about possibly bringing Eden Chronicles to Switch, but it looks like that might be out of the window now. Rabbit & Bear Studios said the game is planned for Nintendo's next-gen hardware. It's unclear if the situation would change if something such as a Switch upgrade were to be introduced. The Q&A also touches on the delay from 2022 to 2023. Aside from having to create large amounts of content, it also sounds like the team has been impacted by the coronavirus. So the big question here is, what platforms will Eden Chronicle 100 Heroes release on day one? Answer is, as originally pledged to the backers of the game, will be released on Xbox One, Series X and S, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Steam, Epic Games Store, and Nintendo's next-gen hardware. So that's obviously a notable article for the simple fact that this game developer is acknowledging that a 2023 project that they are working on is planned for Nintendo's next-gen hardware. Now, whether or not they have any kind of dev kit or they really are in the know with if they can develop for that hardware right now is totally up in the air, but I think the thought process is that the original base model Switch will not be beefed up enough graphically to run this title that they are currently working on, and so they are confirming to their fans that basically what they're going to do with the direction of Eden Chronicle is to release it on all other platforms, and as far as Nintendo is concerned, it will be developed for the next-gen hardware. And does that mean the console that's basically 4 years out and a true next-gen Switch? It could mean that, or it very well could mean that if there is a revision, which we are going to talk about next in the other thing that's backing that up, is that if we see that Switch Pro revision or new Nintendo Switch or whatever Nintendo decides to call it, that this game would be developed for that platform. And while this doesn't tell a lot in the way of, like I said, if they have a dev kit or some kind of insider info, it does at least state that they are expecting Nintendo to have a revision that's something at least more powerful that they can run this game on. And that does really make an interesting conversation for like what we've talked about before, whereas if this new Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch Pro is a sizable enough upgrade with a new chipset, would that then make there be certain games that are exclusive to the platform? And I can completely see third-party developers such as this creating, high fidelity graphical style games that are, really designed to run on the bigger next-gen hardware like the PS5 and the Series X, and there's just simply not a easy path to port something like that over to a base model Switch. And if you get a Switch with a upgraded chipset and just some extra graphics processing power like we're expecting the revision to have, well, then you are going to probably see most likely third-party developers, not so much Nintendo, but at least third-party developers port their specific titles that they cannot get to run on the base model Switch only over to whatever the Pro revision would be called. So I do think that's something we can expect. Now, the next thing we have to talk about is actually the release time window for the Switch Pro, and if this thing is going into production like the Bloomberg report suggested, as they clearly stated that in July that there would be production of the Switch Pro beginning. Well, one, that means we should expect to see screenshots or leaked images at some point in these factories, similar to what happened with the Switch Lite when that entered production. But two, it still begs the question of is this thing going to be a 2021 holiday window type of release, you know, maybe a September or October like Bloomberg clearly reported on, or would this be something that is a 2022 title? And first and foremost, I do want to give a shout out to OJ over at Player Essence, as I did discover this through his channel and I highly recommend his content. He's a great Nintendo YouTuber as well, and he covered in a video that a different Nintendo YouTuber by the name of Switch Up, who I was actually not familiar with, tweeted out on their Twitter account that they have a Chinese manufacturer, accessory manufacturer rather, that they have as a credible, reliable source, and that they have tweeted out this following tweet that reads, "No Switch Pro in 2021, reliable peripheral manufacturing source from China working on products to be adapted for it, says that they've been told 2022 global market release. Let's hope it's wrong." And now this Nintendo YouTuber has over 180,000 subscribers. They're very, you know, reliable on the platform from the sounds of things, as I've just done some basic research on them before reporting on this, but it does seem like this is something that they're not just doing as kind of a rumor mill, or, you know, I'm just going to throw this out there for no reason for the attention, as, you know, he only tweeted this out and has not even made a video on it. And I don't think that it's one of those things that just, it doesn't seem like there's a reason to do this in that situation for this particular Nintendo YouTuber. So I do think that this could be something that is indicated of a, you know, a potential 2022 time release, but I want to, you know, really actually focus on the fact that Bloomberg actually did say in their initial reports that this would be a staggered release for whatever this revision is, and the initial reports were that Japan and the US would get this console first, and it would be rolled out to other parts of the world throughout the rest of 2021 and into 2022. So if the Chinese manufacturer is getting the information of global launch in 2022, that would still line up with Bloomberg's report of us actually getting this thing in the States and in Japan as soon as September or October of this year. Now that does seem really fast, especially if they're just now starting production on it in the month of July, but you know, it's totally possible for them to pull that off. And I do think that it's very interesting to hear Chinese, you know, accessory manufacturers start to talk about this, because this would be about that timeline when you start ramping up production of everything. If you're getting the console ready to go, you're also going to want the accessories ready to go. So I'm telling you guys, if you're a believer in the Switch Pro like I am, we're gonna see more information around the corner, as when things start to fall onto production lines and everybody has a smartphone and a camera nowadays, there's going to be leaked images online, and I do think we're not very far away from that. We've already seen a bunch of like ghost postings go live where different retailers, even credible ones like Amazon Mexico, has had new Nintendo Switch listings appear and then could get delisted. And so there's a lot of stuff happening in the background right now, and when Nintendo does announce this thing, it's going to be one of those crazy scalper situations, unfortunately. But I do believe that there's still a, you know, reasonable expectation to believe that this could be a 2021 console, but probably not a global release. Like, I would expect if you're in the UK or Australia or, you know, other places around the world, to maybe have to wait just a little bit longer to get your hands on this thing. But if the Series X and the PS5 are anything to go off of, it is not going to be an easy feat for any time in the foreseeable future to actually easily go walk in and pick up this console. And I do hope that we see, when it does launch, some in-store inventory, so we're not just competing against bots online. But the big thing is going to be, is if you want to Switch Pro, when that announcement drops, you're going to have to watch everything on the internet like a hawk for pre-orders to actually go live, because that's going to be, you know, obviously the simplest way to secure it. But guys, at this point in the video, I really want to get your opinions on everything we talked about. Do you think that this game developer delaying, you know, their game till 2023 but mentioning the next gen Switch hardware has any kind of, you know, impact on what we can expect and when we can expect an official announcement from Nintendo? And then the big question I want to know from you guys is, do you think if we are getting the Switch revision, if it's a 2021, or now due to this, you know, Chinese manufacturer basically stating that, you know, the global release is not until 2022, do you think that this comes out in 2022, maybe along something like a Breath of the Wild, like later on in the year? Or do you think it's something that could be released in the first quarter of the year, maybe alongside like Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is totally possible too? But I want to get all your guys' thoughts, and I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all in the comments. And then before you do leave the video, just hop over to the community tab on the channel, where I will be asking you all things Switch Pro in the topic of today's poll. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do, at this point in the video, want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation,